Have you ever wondered how a simple idea turned into one of the largest furniture empires in the world? How a boy from a small Swedish village, armed with nothing but ambition, cleverness, and a relentless drive, built a company that changed the way we live. Our story begins long before IKEA, with a young German aristocrat named Ajimbo, who defied his family's rules to marry a commoner. In 1890, Ajimbo fell in love with a woman named Franziska, a girl from an ordinary family. To the noble elite, this was scandalous. Marriages were strictly controlled. An aristocrat must marry another aristocrat, but Ajimbo ignored the laws of lineage, choosing freedom and love over status. They left Germany behind, settling in a remote Swedish village with 200 hectares of farmland. They dreamed of a simple, peaceful life as farmers, but life had other plans. They were outsiders in a foreign land, struggling with a language they did not speak, crops that wouldn't grow, and harsh, unfamiliar weather. Farming was unfamiliar to both, and the money they had was quickly running out. Ajimbo, unprepared for these challenges, made a tragic choice. One day, in a shocking and incomprehensible act, he killed their dogs and took his own life. Franziska was left alone, pregnant, with 3 children in a foreign land on a failing farm. It's here, in the darkest moments, that Franziska's story begins. A single mother, facing impossible odds, she made a choice that would lay the foundation for generations of resilience, grit, and eventually extraordinary innovation. Franziska could have given up. She could have left the land to decay, but instead she stared at her vast fields, looked at her children, and said, "We are staying. We will make this work." She quickly realized that this land wasn't meant for traditional farming. It was perfect for cattle. Starting with a few cows and calves, Franziska poured herself into raising them. Slowly, year by year, she learned Swedish, blending into the local community while her children attended school and adapted to their new life. Her determination was relentless. The once isolated foreigner became a respected farmer, turning what seemed like a hopeless situation into a thriving homestead. Franziska's story shows that resilience isn't about avoiding hardship. It's about facing it head-on and refusing to quit. Years later, one of her grandchildren, a boy named Ingvar Kamprad, would inherit not just land, but an unbreakable spirit and the seeds of entrepreneurial genius. Ingvar Kamprad was born into this world of perseverance. From an early age, he displayed a remarkable knack for business. At just 6 years old, he started selling matches. He noticed an opportunity in his village shop. Matches were cheap to buy, but could be sold for a small profit. Borrowing 88 cents from his mother, he bought 100 boxes, sold them to his grandmother and neighbors, and returned the money, keeping a tiny profit for himself. Unlike most children, Ingvar wasn't interested in toys or candy. He was fascinated by trade, profit, and opportunity. As he grew older, he expanded into chocolates, postcards, and small goods. He was relentless. By the age of 7, he was already learning lessons that most adults never grasp: risk, patience, and understanding his customers. Franziska played a pivotal role. She encouraged Ingvar to take calculated risks, to fail and learn from his mistakes. This early mentorship laid the foundation for what would later become a revolutionary approach to business. By the time he was a teenager, Ingvar was more than a child entrepreneur. He was a determined business mind. At age 15, he joined the local Swedish Nazi party, reflecting the social norms of the time. But it was his grandmother who kept him grounded, teaching him the importance of ethics and hard work. Despite facing challenges like dyslexia, which made school difficult, Ingvar excelled in his personal business ventures. He sold goods during school, negotiated with suppliers, and carefully tracked his profits. By 17, he had his high school diploma and enough savings to start thinking seriously about his future. The name IKEA was born from this era, Ingvar Kamprad, Tarid his family farm, Aganarid his village, a simple, clever name for a simple, yet revolutionary idea. At 17, with encouragement from his family, Ingvar officially registered his business. He continued buying small goods, pens, wallets, and accessories, selling them at a profit. His business instincts were impeccable. He studied the supply chain, asking questions like, "Why does this pen cost so much in the store when it's cheap from the manufacturer?" He realized that inefficiencies in transportation, storage, and retail markups allowed him to sell at better prices if he could streamline the process. Ingvar wasn't just selling products. He was learning to optimize the entire system. Even at this young age, he understood the power of customer satisfaction, operational efficiency, and innovation. His ambition was growing, but so was the complexity of the business world he was stepping into. After World War II, Europe faced a massive reconstruction effort. Houses had been destroyed, and furniture was in high demand. Ingvar seized this opportunity. In 1948, he began selling furniture, focusing on affordable, quality items. Unlike others, he didn't need a showroom. He used a catalog, telephone orders, and direct delivery to customers' homes. This approach was revolutionary. People loved it. IKEA quickly became known for fair prices, reliability, and accessibility. Ingvar's early lessons in business, risk, and persistence were paying off. Soon, he invited his family and close friends to help grow the business. This was the birth of IKEA as a family-driven enterprise, dedicated to practical solutions for everyday people. Ingvar knew that to stay ahead, IKEA couldn't rely on just selling furniture. He studied competitors, the market, and the supply chain. He realized that efficiency could give him a massive edge. He optimized manufacturing, worked closely with loyal suppliers, and insisted on unique designs that competitors couldn't easily replicate. A groundbreaking idea came from observing how furniture occupied space. Why not design flat-pack furniture? Pieces that could be shipped in smaller boxes and assembled at home. This simple innovation reduced shipping costs, storage needs, and retail prices, while maintaining quality. The flat-pack concept wasn't just about cost. It was a strategic move that redefined the furniture business forever. IKEA had become smarter, faster, and far more efficient than anyone else. With the success of flat-pack furniture, IKEA began expanding. Ingvar opened his first physical store in a converted building, offering a complete in-person experience. Customers could browse, touch, and sit on furniture, something no catalog alone could provide. He also realized the importance of keeping customers in store. Long paths through the store, strategically designed displays, and the introduction of in-store restaurants encouraged shoppers to stay longer, explore more, and buy more. By the 1960s and 1970s, IKEA had expanded beyond Sweden into Norway, Denmark, Switzerland, Germany, and eventually Japan. Ingvar's vision was clear: affordable, high-quality furniture for the world. Success didn't come without obstacles. Competitors tried to sabotage IKEA by pressuring suppliers to cut ties, but Ingvar's loyalty to his suppliers and his innovative supply chain ensured he stayed ahead. He also invested in in-house designers to create exclusive furniture, making IKEA offerings unique. Collaborating with factories in neighboring countries like Poland allowed him to scale globally while maintaining control. Each innovation, from flat-pack furniture to efficient logistics, made IKEA more resilient against competitors. Even when faced with negative press, such as false accusations about his past political affiliations, Ingvar stayed focused on the business, proving that vision and perseverance could overcome public scrutiny. By the 1980s, IKEA had become a household name worldwide. Ingvar's focus on customer experience, operational efficiency, and affordability created a model that continues to inspire entrepreneurs globally. He passed away in 2018 at the age of 91, leaving behind a legacy of innovation, family-driven business values, and a company with 473 stores in 63 countries. From humble beginnings in a remote Swedish village to a global empire, IKEA remains entirely family-owned, proving that vision, courage, and persistence can create a lasting impact. From the tragic story of Franziska to Ingvar's extraordinary ingenuity, IKEA's journey is a testament to resilience, innovation, and the power of one person's ambition to change the world. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. And for more stories about how it happened, subscribe to the channel and stay with us.